Hi and welcome, my name is TheNordicDane and today we're going to talk about Returnal on PlayStation 5. When Returnal first released its trailer, it was super interesting to watch. It looked like it was filled with action, yet still had that vibe of mysteriousness to it. It definitely caught my attention and I put it on my list as one of the games that I wanted to try, yet it took me a while to actually go and buy it. The game is produced by Housemarque. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know French. Housemarque? Housemarque? I don't know. That's how you spell it. Anyway, it was published by Sony and they had the exclusive rights to it. It is a third-person shooter game as a single player, though there is a slight online element to it, though I don't actually know how to access that. Basically, the online element is that you could give some orbs away in order for you to get something, but I never actually used it. I turned it on, but I never actually used it. And I never found out how to use it, even though I completed the whole game. The game takes place on this alien planet. Basically, you crash course onto this planet because you try to find this beacon that is sending out a signal. You then find out that you see these people dying on the ground and you find out that those people are actually you. You also later find your own house, as well as every time that you find yourself, you find these voice memos that you can listen to as well. I must say the story of it all was super interesting and I wanted to know more. I wanted to know who this mysterious astronaut was. Astronaut? Is there like a British American version that's like different? I don't know what's wrong with me and languages today. Anyway, the story was super interesting in the beginning and I had really great hopes for this game. When I completed the game, however, it did round up some of the story, but also left a lot of it unexplained. Actually so much that it was leaving the story way too open at the end. It did explain something about the fact that she had crash landed into a lake because she accidentally hit an astronaut on the road, but it doesn't say anything about who that astronaut was or anything like that. And the fact that there was a kid at the back of her seat, who I actually thought was her, but Chad helped me in order to get that it wasn't her who was the kid, she was the woman who was driving the car. But the fact that an important detail like that is up for interpretation just doesn't feel right to me, because you also find both her house and also the car that she was driving into the lake. You find this on the alien planet as well. So there's a lot of questions about, was she actually on this planet, or is this something that she was streaming and she was actually drowning? But you also saw the fact that she was drowning, but then some mysterious creature pulled her out of the car, leaving her kid alone. And so honestly, just even talking about it now, it sounds confusing because it was confusing. When it comes to the visuals of the game, it was actually pretty cool. Everything looked really great in these 60 frames per second. There was ray tracing in the game, and honestly, I didn't feel anything wrong with the visuals in this game. It was super smooth and everything just ran really nicely. And everything looked really nicely. The spooky vibes were also definitely enhanced by the sound as well. Unfortunately, there was one thing that was a giant pet peeve of mine. Every time that there was an alien still alive, the music would change into something more dramatic. So basically, you always knew if there was an enemy around the corner, or if you just hadn't killed all of them in that area that you were in. Generally, the game is super challenging. There was a lot of levels that killed me instantly, but what I really liked about the game is that even though it was repetitive, because basically every time you died, you would restart the game, just as in Deathloop. Also, please go and watch that video if you haven't watched about Deathloop already. I love the fact that every time you open a new door, even though you were generally on the same level, what was behind the doors constantly changed, and I love that. In that way, the game never felt too repetitive. However, I must say by the end of the game, I was actually pretty glad that I was done. I must admit, even though I consider myself an experienced gamer, this game was super tough. So much, in fact, that I at one point was really close to just giving up and not finishing the game. But the story was actually what kept me going, because I was hoping that I could get some sort of conclusion, or at least get some sort of roundup of what had happened and why everything happened the way that they did, in order for a sequel potentially to come out. However, that never happened. Also, one of the reasons why it was so challenging was because it didn't have a difficulty level. You couldn't change the difficulty level. The difficulty level was set, and once you had that difficulty level, that was it. And yes, it did have some ways for you to change it so that it became a little bit more easy if you went into the actual options. But even with that, it was really super difficult because, as I said, every time you died, you would completely restart. And sometimes you would make it all the way to a special boss battle and then you would die and had to play probably like 2 hours all over again. And that just frustrated me. All in all, this game had a huge potential, and I do see some awesome elements in it, but it just didn't live up to the mark. Therefore, I'm actually only gonna give it 3 Viking helmets. I'm close to giving it 2, but I feel like that would be a little bit too little for this game, simply because of the fact that the visuals were really well done, and I like this way of playing the game. It reminded me a little bit about Control and Deathloop. It was just a worse versions of those 2 games. So therefore, I'm gonna end on 3 Viking helmets. And like I said, I just wanted the game to be done, and I did, luckily, but I am probably not gonna pick that game up again. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please go and hit the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. It means a lot to me. You can also find me on Twitch, where my handle is TheNordicDane, and here I stream a bunch of variety of games, and I hope to see you there. And as always, be safe.